Welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storme, here to help you unlock the mind, business, and spirit of your private practice success. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to grow, this is the place for you if you really want to create a thriving private practice. Before we dive in, I want to share something that can really make a difference in your business. Imagine having an expert in your pocket, someone available on demand whenever you need guidance. Well, that's exactly what my new program, Practice Momentum, offers. With over 30 years of experience at your fingertips, you can now get the support you need whenever you need it. Curious? Head over to brooklynstorme.com to learn more. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. This is the 5th time, seriously, that I've tried to record it. Would you believe, Buddy and I, we've been having a very slow morning. It's 10 a.m. on Saturday at the moment. We've had this beautiful slow morning. He's been all sleepy and snuggly, but every time I go to turn on the microphone and do the podcast, he decides to become very energetic and absolutely has to have my attention and wants to be silly and, get very, very playful. Anywho, I've just opened up the back door so he can go and maybe shake it off in the garden and come back and have a little lie down. So I might have to hit pause in a second while I go and let him back in. But what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about worth and value, and I'll tell you why. At the moment, I'm doing a course and I'm absolutely totally loving it. And it's very interesting though, because I don't know, it's just worked out this way. I don't know why, but probably for every 4 or 5 men, there's one woman. I know. It's like strange. That hasn't happened to me for a very long time. So I'm definitely in the minority. But what I'm finding is that as much as the course material is an education, so too is being around these fellas, because they just have a very different way of seeing things. And this is a class that's made up of people from all over the world, right? To be completely fair, and of course, I haven't met everybody. I think there's about 80 people that are doing this course at the moment. And I don't know, you know what Zoom's like. It just shows you the attendance count on the bottom. You've got to scroll through the top little thing there and see all of the pictures. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know that any are from Australia. I found one other woman, she was from Australia. I think we're the only 2 Aussies. Everybody else, Canada, America, Germany. Yeah. So from time to time, we've got to do the thing that I really don't love doing, which is go into the breakout rooms. And, you got to have the small talk. And I'm not a small talk person, as you know. But anyway, we go in, we're getting ready, and we're having the small talk. And, you start talking about what you're meant to be discussing, don't you? And then that's kind of done. And then you're just killing some time. So you're talking with each other. Anyway, sorry, I'm back. I just had to pause that while I let you know who back inside. Oh, now he's run to the back door and he says he wants to go OUT again. Anywho, we're in this discussion room and they start talking about, oh yeah, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And a bunch of them were corporate coaches, business coaches like me, stuff like that. And then they were talking about how they deliver their services, and then they were talking about their fees. And it was just so interesting to sit and listen to the way these guys that I was with in this course were just, very they were just so at peace with the money. There was no visible signs of shame or guilt. There was no, I really want to be affordable. There was no, I don't know if I'm worth it. There was none of that. They were just very matter of fact about it, and just calling a spade basically. And it was just such a contrast to how it can be as women running our own businesses. And so I thought, this is really interesting because of the contrast. Which got me thinking about, what so many of us actually experience when it comes to things like setting fees, for example, or charging a cancellation fee for the first few times, things like that. what I can share with you is, because as a business coach, I get to speak to women often about the challenges that they're having in their business. And one of the really, really common ones is the money. And I don't know how it happens, but there's often a sense of undercharging. They will often tell me about, oh, I need to make more money. I will give them a strategy and then they don't do it. And then, they go quiet for a little while, avoiding me because they don't want to tell me that they're not doing it. And I'll check in with them. I'm like, how's it going? They say, oh, it's not getting any better, And then I'll say, oh, are we doing the thing? Are we charging the cancellation fees? How'd you go? Raising the fee, like whatever it was. And all the stuff comes up, right? Which is totally normal. It all comes up for all of us, right? And I'll tell you about my own experience in a moment, later in this episode. But it's like all that stuff comes up and they will say things like, well, you know what? It's not fair to charge if somebody didn't receive a service. So there's this, that's really common. Another one is they don't want to be seen as greedy. They don't want to be seen as ripping people off. They worry that if they charge a fee, people won't come back. So therefore, it's better to just constantly let it slide. There's also a sense of not knowing how to set a fee. And they usually, I'll say to somebody, how did you arrive at that fee that you're charging over there of the $60 for a 90-minute session? Tell me more about that. And they'll say, I'm not a psychologist and I don't have rebates. So I just thought it would be better if I, charge $60. And I'm like, okay, and tell me about the 90 minutes. Oh, that's to make it worth it. I was like, okay. And then other people that I talk to, and again, it's just so common. They tie their own beliefs and their own ideas and feelings and stories about money into the business, and then it all gets projected onto the business, which means it gets projected onto their clients who never asked for your stuff to be dumped on them. You're not helping your clients when you're putting all of your money issues onto them and their experience of working with you. So, of course, while it's really common, it can also be turned around. And it happens for lots and lots of different reasons. And Buddy, he's still trying to get my attention. He's trying to be a little bit, he's, I don't know, is it PC to say naughty anymore? It's probably not PC, is it? Don't want to get cancelled because I said the word naughty. Misbehaving, is that the word? Acting out. He's scratching at my fly wire, which I don't want him to do for obvious reasons. Okay. I thought it might be helpful to maybe unpack a little bit around worth and value, just as a way of, I guess, shifting how we're seeing it a little bit. Because even if you're thinking right now, I'm cool with the money, Brooklyn. If I said to you, okay, then if you're so cool with the money, let's bump the fee by $100 a session. And let's say that from tomorrow, all new clients are on this fee of the extra $100 a session. What comes up for you? Is there a lump in your throat? Did you do a big gulp? Did you have a quick panic? Were you thinking, no way, nobody would ever pay that? She's crazy, right? That's what I mean. All your stuff comes up. So just because you might be thinking that you're cool with the money now doesn't necessarily mean that you are. So it's always it's like new level, new devil, right? It's always worthwhile having this discussion. So really important to understand the difference between worth and value, because these terms are used interchangeably. The challenge I see is that as women practitioners, we tend to confuse our worth and value with money, right? They're separate things. I think the easiest way to look at this is value is what the client is mostly about the client. And I think worth is mostly about you. Value mostly about the client, worth mostly about you. What do I mean by that? Okay, I've taken some notes. So I know I don't normally take notes, or I do sometimes, but it's not a normal thing. But I've got some notes here because it's really important to me that we can kind of clear this up, especially because Christmas is only 5 weeks away and then it's going to be a new year. So I want to give you this episode now so that you've got time for it to percolate. You can think about it, make some changes to the way you're thinking, feeling, what you're doing, how you're marketing, all those kinds of things so that you can set the business up for a more prosperous 2026, right? And who doesn't want that? We all want that, right? Prosperous financially, I'm talking about. No apologies here. Okay, so when we're talking about value, and I'm saying to you that concept, the way I see it, is mostly about your client. Here's what I mean. Value is subjective, right? It's a subjective assessment or experience of the importance of something. Okay, so in this case, we're talking about whatever it is you do. Maybe you're doing ADHD assessments, maybe you're doing counseling, maybe you're doing holistic, maybe you're a supervisor, right? And where, for you, you're thinking about your supervisees. So understanding that value is not determined by you, understanding that value is not determined by the 180 that you're charging or the 250 that you're charging, understanding that value is nothing to do with any of that, it's all about your client, can be very, 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 very helpful in lots of ways. When I'm saying it's about the client, what I want you to understand is that the client's perception of the value is determined by a lot of things, but mostly their experience of where they are before they start working with you, their experience working with you, and then their experience perhaps when they finish, right? What's life like before, during, and after working with your private practice? This is why it's so, so, so important. You will never hear me say, don't niche. I will never say that. Niching, statistically, and the research shows, is the fastest way to get your diary full and to get clients, to get the money flowing and everything. I will never tell you, don't niche. When you niche, the reason that you fill your diary quicker than someone who doesn't, right? If you're saying, I'll just go to my usual example. I help busy working single mums of neurodivergent children or something like that. That's very specific. That allows you to write in a way on your website or your socials that conveys a sentiment, a feeling, a thought, an experience to your client that is valuable for them. The value for the client is the rapport, the trust, and the connection. That client is going to come over to the website and they're going to feel like they got value because you had stuff that was valuable to them. It was a strategy. It was a $27 product. It was a newsletter that's actually valuable to them, right? It's going to be, well, value is subjective, right? Because again, you could have 100 busy working single mums of ADHD children and no two of them would see value the same way. But there's certainly going to be overlap with the value. They're probably going to value things like flexibility in the way that appointments are delivered. So in person, online, right? Or they might value your expertise, or they might value results that you have gotten for other busy working single mums who also had ADHD diagnosed children, right? So there's going to be some overlap there. And when you understand what that overlap is in terms of how they perceive value, you can then align the things that you write in your emails, your blogs, your website, your socials, whatever, the reels you make, you can align it with that. So you're giving them an experience of value, and you have actually experienced somebody else's value. Think about maybe listening to this podcast. Now, I'm sure you've listened to maybe a bunch of episodes and you've thought some of them were really helpful, and you've thought others were, fine. They were just fine to listen to. But you came back for the next one because you were hopeful that there was going to be something valuable to you. Now, I think what's valuable to you is going to be stuff around how to get started in your practice, how to get the money flowing, without all of the negative angst and all of that sort of stuff going on around it, how to work in a way that matches the things that are important to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if I can meet you there and I can give you that kind of content, that you will continue to come back because you're finding it valuable, you're finding it helpful. A lot of the time in my podcast episodes, you go away with an action step or something to do. And I know some of you actually go away and do those things. So that's the value, right? So you have to think, what does your client see as valuable? And it's maybe not what you think they see as valuable. Another example I can share with you is, the freebies. So you might have a freebie on your website. Maybe it's a PDF. Maybe it took you a very long time to make it because you worked with me and I kept making you do revisions. But it's on your PDF. And let's say, it's been up there for a month and you've had like 3 downloads, and now you're upset because you're thinking that it's not working and you really liked your freebie and stuff like that. Well, the reason it's not getting downloaded, if you're letting people know that it's there, because you can't just let it sit on the website. People are never going to find it. You've got to let people know that there's a free thing over there and you've got to send them over there. Anyway, let's imagine that you are sending traffic to the website and the freebie's not getting downloaded, even though you think it's awesome. That's helpful information to know, because it's saying that, maybe your client isn't thinking that it's going to be valuable to them or useful to them. I know this myself. I was recording training for the ladies inside Practice Momentum on their freebies, and I was screen sharing my flow desk, and you could see I was showing them that, look, guys, I've got 65 freebies. 65 freebies. And you can see from the opt-in forms that although I really knew that they were going to be so helpful and I knew that they were going to solve a problem and, all of this stuff, a lot of them never got a single download. Was it because I didn't try hard enough? No. Was it because I didn't work hard enough? No. Was it because I didn't put in the time? No. I did all of those things, right? Why wasn't it downloaded? It wasn't downloaded because they didn't see it as valuable for whatever reason, right? It could have been, it was shoddy presentation, right? Well, I would never do shoddy presentation. What I mean by that is maybe it just wasn't presented in a way that made them curious, that made them want to have a look at it. Could have been that. Maybe the heading was wrong. Maybe it was the wrong heading. I can give you a really recent example of that. I've been doing my Facebook business page experiment, and I had this really awesome freebie which showed them how to get clients off Facebook. Now, I believed that this was going to just take off. I thought this was going to be like the freebie to end all freebies, because so many women in private practice, they're on Facebook and always talking about how it's not working for them and they don't know what to do and all of these things. And so there I am, made this freebie, put the story together, included all of the evidence that it works, right? And I don't know, maybe 4 people downloaded it. I know. I was so surprised. I couldn't understand it. I still can't understand it. I know if they got that freebie and they actually took the time to sit down and work through it, they would start getting clients, which is what they're telling me they're wanting. And I'm saying, okay, here's a solution to the thing that you're wanting. And they're like, no, thanks. Now, that's not an issue with my audience. That's an issue with me. I need to figure out what it was and how I messed this up. I'm thinking maybe I need to go and change the title of it or something like that. But it's it's just something that is very important. And okay, and so this is the thing. You got to learn from it. You can't just and you got to track. Always tracking. So always going into that opt-in form and seeing, how many downloads has it had? One of the other things that I did in my experiment, I think maybe I told you, I can't remember, but I just did a very minimal opt-in page because I wanted to test different elements to see if I could tweak and change any of the basics before I started adding in more things. And so this opt-in page legit just had a heading, and then it said, I think it was just like one sentence on what it was that they were going to get, and then it gave them the option to fill out their first name, their email, and then download the thing. And so I had 2 opt-in forms going at the same time. Oh no, I did one first, didn't get anything, and then I went in and changed it. I removed one thing on the opt-in page, and within a couple of hours I had 33 opt-ins. No word of a lie. So anyway, the thing that I'm trying to say around the value is it's never determined by us. It's always determined by your clients, your audience. So for some reason, although my audience are telling me they aren't getting clients off their Facebook, but they're determined and they're still going to keep showing up, even when I give them a solution, I say, well, here's how to fix it. They're not taking it. That's a me thing. I haven't understood what the actual value is to them, right? So anyway, I can't just leave one freebie and hope that, or expect that it is going to generate all of these clients. You heard I had 65 freebies. All of them I thought were awesome. A lot of them never got a single download. It's by having multiple freebies, for example, that you start to realize what your audience is interested in, what they do see as useful and valuable, and it may surprise you. After I did the Facebook one that was a big flop, never understood why it was a big flop, I will do it again. I will revive it and maybe call it something different and present it differently. It could have been around my message in there. But anyway, I thought the messaging was actually pretty clear. It said how to get clients from Facebook. Anyway, I'll change it. But I got back on the horse and I did another one and I did another one and I did another one, and I'm doing one a week, right? And I'm always tracking to see what's landing, what's not, what's resonating, what's not. And I'm doing more and focusing more on the things that are working, and I'm letting go and doing less of the things that just aren't. So I made another freebie. It was, what was it? Business plan, I think. Yeah, business plan for when you're just starting private practice, or if you've been in private practice and it's just kind of like not working, or you're not where you thought you'd be, it's not matching up with your expectations and things like that. I made another one, which was about at the end, it gives them a freebie for a very simple mini business plan. It's a very mini version of one that the women in Momentum get. So anyway, there was that. And guess what? You might be thinking, how boring a business plan. But guess what? It flew off the shelves. It's had hundreds of requests. And yeah, you can go onto my business page and have a look. You can see them all in the Facebook group. Every single day, more people are asking for it. And this is good because it's got longevity. And it's adding people into my world who perhaps weren't there before, which is the whole point, right? Another one that I did that went really, really well was things you could do to get money for your private practice so that you didn't have to stress about finding clients all the time. That one went off. Hundreds of downloads. So you can hear like the more recent ones have been getting loads of downloads, but it wasn't like that. In the beginning, it was crickets for the most part. But if you go and have a look at my Flowdesk forms section, you will see, as I said before, lots of things I tried, flopped, didn't work. You got to have multiple things so that you can understand what's really, really, really important to your audience. One of the other things that you can do is, maybe repurpose. If you had something that worked really well before, try it again. You never know. But this is the thing. The value is not determined by you, right? You can only do your best. But the market, the client, the audience is going to let you know loud and clear whether this thing that you got, free or paid, might be your counseling, might be your assessments, might be your supervision services, whatever you're doing. Your audience will let you know loud and clear if they want it. And they're only going to want it if they see that it's valuable. And valuable for them is going to mean that it's going to solve a problem, save them time, give them the solution, right? Now, it's going to be so much easier for you to convey value or to be perceived as offering value when you have a niche, because you will have a better, deeper understanding of who you're helping, right? It's going to be much easier for people to come over to your website and know that they're in exactly the right place. If your website says straight at the top, hey guys, I am the therapist for you. If you're a busy working single mom of children with ADHD, here's what I do. Here's how I help. Here's how to get started. Try this in the meantime, high value. It means that everything you write in your blog is going to be for that person. High value. It means that the insights, the shares, the wisdom are going to be relevant to that client. High value. So much easier to do than if you're casting a wide net because of your own fear mindset and scarcity, and you're like, oh, but I don't want a niche because I'm only just starting and I can't say no to people, and I love everybody, Brooklyn, and everybody's welcome, and I help everyone from children to teens to young adults to couples to families to the age to this to no, and I help them with anxiety and depression, the neuro and the perimenopause and the family constellations and this. It's like, if you're doing that, how is somebody going to feel value with your business? This person might be new to your world, new to your audience. They come over to the website expecting, because I've seen something on your social media perhaps, that says that you help, couples that are going through infidelity, right? And they're trying to navigate all of that and what it means. And you've done this awesome post that resonated for this person, and you've said, click here, and you put a link to your website. Here they are on your website. And on your website, you've got something about walking alongside them on their life transitions. And then you've got all this information under services that lists, all this stuff. It's completely irrelevant. And then you've got blog posts that are completely irrelevant to that client, right? Now that client is now in the mood for exploring couples counseling or, relationship counseling. They're not connecting with your website. They're going to go into Google because they're still in the mood, and they're going to type in couples counseling or relationship counseling or something like that. And guess what? Google is going to give them the best match based on what they typed in for the search. And bet your bottom dollar, those top 3 or 4, 10 websites that come up are all going to be specialising, niching in relationships and couples counselling, right? Where do you think this client's going to go? You've done all the hard work getting them over to your website, but because the website was general, they don't feel like they're going to get value. And certainly after they go and see these other websites, because maybe they're going to click on, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these other ones who are all about solely and wholly the relationships and the couples counselling and the Gottmans and, intensives and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And they're charging the same fee that you do. Which one do you think they're going to say gives them the most value? It's going to be the one in the niche. Why? Because they're going to perceive that the one in the niche, the practice that's in the niche, knows more than you do. That might be right, might be wrong, but that'll be the perception, because it's very clear that this is all that other person does. So value is not about you. Value is about your client's perception of what they're getting. It's the importance of what you're offering to that client. You might offer, counselling for anxiety, right? Is that an important service for you to offer? Absolutely. There's so much value in that. It's very, very needed, right? But if your clients doesn't see that getting anxiety counselling is important to them, are they going to see it as valuable? No. So when it comes to connecting with your clients, it can be helpful to speak into what type of anxiety may be. So anxiety is an umbrella term. It's more of a category than a condition. I mean, yes, it's a condition, but I see it more as a category, because within anxiety, we have all kinds of different conditions, diagnoses, There's OCD. There is, what else? There's PTSD. There's trauma, right? They all come under the umbrella of anxiety. They're just a few, but there's so many. Is there something that you want to really focus on with anxiety? Because if somebody maybe has anxiety about work performance, is the value to them, when they're looking at your website and they're looking at somebody else's website, which one's going to be perceived to be the valuable one? The fees are the same. They come to yours, you're doing 10 different things over here. And you're saying, or no, forget that. They come to yours and you're saying you solely and wholly do anxiety counselling, right? And your whole website is about anxiety counselling. This person who's on your website has anxiety about their new boss. There's a new boss at work. She thinks they don't like her, feels like there's some conflict, making her anxious, losing sleep. She's starting to take days off work, all those kinds of things. So she sees your website over here talking all about how you do anxiety counselling. And then she starts clicking around on Google and she finds somebody who does, anxiety around workplaces. Both fees are the same. Who's she going to book with? Right? because she sees that one as being more valuable. Why? Because she thinks they're going to know more, that they're going to be better able to help her. For her, the value is, can this person help me? And I think that's fair to say for so many of our clients. I mean, yes, there's going to be caveats, conditions apply. There are many of us, me in the past too, who had to work with, who worked with mandated clients who really didn't want to be there, but they had to as part of their bail conditions, right? Or part of their, release conditions when they were released from jail, stuff like that. Offenders and, I won't go into it. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is the value is determined by the client. You could have the very best service in the world, but if the client doesn't think it's going to be important and useful and helpful, they will never book in. So that's why messaging is so important. You might think, oh, Brooklyn, my messaging is just fine, but I still don't have clients. Then that means your messaging isn't fine. Sorry, no one's going to tell you this, but it means your messaging isn't fine and it needs to be fixed because it's not resonating. You might think your messaging's fine because it's gentle and it's compassionate and it's, soft, and maybe you've used sort of flowery words from the spiritual sector, all of those kinds of things. And you talk about all these lovely things like gratitude and, kindness and empathy and no judgment. You're talking about all of that. But for your clients, it's like totally missing the point, and they're like, yeah, that sounds nice, but I need practical stuff right now. This is my issue. That stuff over there sounds lovely, and yes, I would like to do it. And she has a really beautiful website and nothing personal. It's just like right now, I've got this immediate issue over here, so I'm going to have to go and find somebody who can help me with that immediate issue. And you miss out, even though you can help that person with the immediate issue that they've got, right? We don't want that. We want you to be able to attract clients, not chase them, because I think this is one of the reasons why we don't love marketing. We feel like we're constantly the butterfly catcher, right? We're that butterfly catcher from the storybooks running around with the great big net in the field, and we're trying really hard to catch these butterflies and bring them back. And it's tiring. You can only run around the field with a big stick for so long, right? It's tiring. And then you wake up one day and you're like, I don't want to run through the field today. And then a day turns into 2 or 3 days, turns into, I haven't posted on my Facebook business page for like 9 months. See, it's a slippery slope. But what if instead of chasing and exhausting yourself and feeling gross about it, you just change your message so that it allowed people who were new to your world to see right away the importance of what you offer in terms of what it means to them, right? Value is, things like ask yourself, what value do I think clients get by working with me? Now, I'm going to get you to do this exercise twice. If you do use this as a journal prompt, you could use what I just said as a journal prompt, right? What value do I think my clients get by working with me? So if it was me, I might say things like, in Practice Momentum, for example, I might say, well, I think my clients get value because I make resources and I put them in the library and, blah, blah, blah. And I send them an email once a week, letting them know what's on. And we do body doubling sessions twice a week and right? I might say things like that. My next prompt is, through the eyes of a client, what is the value of the service you provide? Now, granted, this is hard to do because maybe all your stuff's going to come up and maybe you're going to have blocks around it and maybe you're going to default into therapist mode and you're just going to say, oh, well, I'm just writing all the same stuff. That means you're not looking at it through the eyes of a client, more likely than not. If I look at the value of practice momentum through the eyes of the women who are in it, number one, I know it's going to be different for all of them. They're all at different phases. They're all at different stages. Some are still finishing degrees and courses and qualifications, and they're, in the background planning and getting the whole thing sort of set up behind the scenes so that when they do graduate, they're good to go. Others, they've been in it for a while. They're recruiting, they're hiring contractors, they're renting out rooms, they're doing lease options, right? So I know that the value is going to be different for all of my clients, but I would say the value of the program to my clients is my experience, my knowledge, my wisdom. It's that I call a spade a spade. It's that I'm responsive. It's like the timeliness. They're never left hanging for long. I think those are probably the things. And that I think the other piece of value is around implementation help and implementation support, because, of course, you don't get results in anything without implementation. You know that from the work that you do with your clients as well. Being available where they want it, where they need it, to provide the support around the implementation, that is what they would probably say is the value. I know calling a spade with my clients is absolutely the value, because they tell me that a lot. So do you see that there's a difference between what you think is valuable to your audience and your clients and what they think? If you have trouble kind of moving into the headspace or the mindset or the perspective of looking at things through their eyes, you might want to do something like a visualization or a meditation or a journal, or maybe send out a survey, right? Things like that, and ask them open-ended questions. What's your experience been like? What was the most important reason for you to come and get help? Those kinds of things. That's going to be so helpful for you when it comes to attracting more clients. Okay, how do they feel about your service? What's their experience been like of working with you? And that's an interesting one as well. Of course, we want all of our clients to say that they've loved it. But at the same time, you have to be prepared for the feedback, because there are usually going to be opportunities for improvement, but you get to choose how you receive that feedback. You could take it as criticism and you can think, oh, they don't love me, they hate me, they don't like me, blah, blah, blah. Or you could, get into business owner mindset and say, okay, this has been hard to hear because I genuinely love all my clients and I'm, doing my very best over here, and I'm really disappointed to hear that there's this going on or that going on. But at the same time, I'm thankful because I know it now and I can do something about it. Right? So for me, I'm sure, again, just thinking about my clients' experiences with Practice Momentum, I would say by and large, I can say I used to have, when I made all these resources, right? I just started making them for the clients individually. But then as more clients began joining, there was a trend happening where some of them were needing the same stuff that I'd already been making, and thus was born a repository, right? I just made a space. It was called a portal, and I just started putting all of the resources in there. And I was making a lot of resources, and I think they will all agree that I was making a lot of resources. I don't think any of them will tell you that they've been under-resourced. But while I thought it was helpful to just make everything available to everyone so that they could go in and grab things as they need them to work on their practice, because everyone needs a different level of support. Some people need more direction. Other people are more self-directed and they're like, I'm aware I need to work on getting traffic to my website. I'm aware I need to update my services, right? Like they're more aware, and so they will just like be able to go in, grab the thing that they need, run with it, and we don't even really talk about it, but I can see that they've grabbed it, so all good. But then there were other people who would go in and they'd just be like, holy smoke, Brooklyn, like there's so much in there, like I'm so behind and it's overwhelming going in there. And I never thought that. I thought that my little library was, or my little portal back then was like super helpful. It's like all these extras that I'm just giving because I want to help them. And why wouldn't I? But I didn't realize that it was overwhelming, which is what led to the revamp, right? And the revamp has been much better. So I think if I asked my clients a little while ago, like maybe even, well, I think the library only opened like 3 weeks ago, right? So even if I went back a month and I asked them all, I sent out a little survey, said, hey guys, tell me, what's your experience been like? I think for the most part, most of them would say it's been pretty good. But I think a bunch of them would have said back then, it's too much resources. I feel overwhelmed. I think if I then resurveyed them and asked them again, I wouldn't get that. They would say, really good, loving it, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I mean. Like you got to take that feedback and not personalize it. It's not about you. It wasn't that they didn't like me. It was that, or they weren't appreciative of the resources, because they were. It was what they're making it mean about them, right? I'm behind, I'm this, I'm that. Before they'd even really looked at a lot of the resources, they just looked at how long the list was, had a panic attack, not realizing that if they'd had a look, they would see a lot of it might not apply to them. They might not be, branching out and franchising their practice. So they might not need that whole little bit there. They might not be leasing rooms or getting subcontractors. So they might not have needed that little bit over there either. But their brain just kind of made it mean something to them, And this is what I'm saying. Like, you use that feedback and you improve. This is the value. So for those people who were feeling overwhelmed before, now that they're not feeling overwhelmed, and they say that, like they've told me, it's so much better. Oh, sorry, just whacked my microphone. It's so much better. Oh, this is so much clearer. Oh, I really like this. Oh, thank you. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Right? The value of momentum has just increased for those people now. Do you see what I'm saying? It was nothing to do with the fee. It was nothing to do with me as a woman. It was nothing to do with me as a person. It was nothing to do with me as a business coach. It was everything to do with them and their perception. And their perception was, there's too much. I'm never going to get through it all of that. But now the perception is, this is easy. I know step by step what I've got to do. I've got a path now. I get it now. I see it now. So the value of momentum and of the library there has increased. This is what I'm saying. So you've got to try and get in your client's mind. You can ask yourself, how helpful, how useful is what I'm providing to my client? Again, you're going to have your own take on this, just like I did with my how to get clients on Facebook freebie. I thought that was going to be so useful. If I try and put myself in my client's shoes, I try and put myself in the position of someone who saw that freebie be shared online, I would say maybe they were thinking, I will never be able to do this. I've never got a badge off Facebook. She was able to do it because she's got a big audience. I don't. Easy for her to say. It's probably going to be things like that. So I probably need to rewrite it, and instead of leading with, hey, trust me, I know what I'm doing, here's the proof that I know what I'm doing, here's the proof that it works, maybe I need to get into the space of it's doable. It doesn't need to take you long. I have a simple way. You can get the simple way, right? You see what I'm saying? It's the same tool, but when I get into what would make it valuable for them, it changes how I market it. Do you see? That's what I'm saying. You might use this as a journal prompt. What would a client need to experience in that service you're providing in order to feel like they'd received high value? Right? So they might have an idea of what something's, worth. They might think, I paid $180 for this counselling session. And their partner might say, do you think it was worth it? What's your client going to say? Honestly. And what are they basing it on? Questions like this give you insights as to what you need to do in how you present services and how you deliver services. And when you can work through that lens, then you start attracting more clients to your business, right? Very helpful, very important. If, what's the question? I think so I'm just trying to come up with an example over here. I'm thinking, even in Momentum again, I think if I said to somebody, was it helpful or was it useful? Or their partner said to them, has it been helpful? Has it been useful? I think they'd say, yes, it has been helpful and useful. It's helpful knowing she's there, even though I don't talk to her every day, even though I still make my own decisions and I'm still doing my own stuff. It's so helpful to know that she's there. It's so helpful to know that the community is there. It's so helpful to know that there's, templates there or resources there when I need them. They've been really, really helpful, saved me so much time. I think they'll probably be saying things like that. Ask yourself, another journal prompt, what is really important to your client? So you might be thinking, it's really important to them to regulate their nervous system so that they can come back to home, right? That's what you think, and that's what you put on your website. If we ask your client what they think is important, they might say, I want to be able to open my emails every day without getting butterflies in my stomach, without my heart racing, without all the procrastination hours before I do it. Now, you might know the way for them to get to that outcome is through the regulation of their nervous system, and you might teach them that. But a client is going to see the value in your website if you're speaking to the outcome, not how you're going to do it. See? So, think about what's important to them. So when I think about my clients in Practice Momentum, I know what's important to them is they need stuff that they need support when they need it. That's important to them. I know the other things that are important to them are having support while they implement things, right? Because trying new stuff makes you feel a little bit wobbly. Even for me, trying new stuff makes me feel a little bit wobbly. And so it's so great to know that there's somebody there behind the scenes, on standby for if it doesn't work out, or for if you're having a moment and you need to talk it through, or do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's probably what's important to them. And I think the other things that are important to them are learning how to create the practice that is going to give them what they want personally and professionally. So it's going to let them, of course, help clients. That's a given, right? But it's also going to give them more time with the kids, the ability to retire their partner, trips overseas for months at a time, a new laptop without having to stress about the budget, the ability to take mental health days for their own self-care and well-being without the guilt. Do you know what I mean? I think all those things are really important to my clients. And I think too, what's really important to them is that they figure out what's been missing or what they haven't been doing, because they don't know. They've been running the practice. Maybe they do have some clients. Maybe those clients are, on repeat. They're kind of loyal clients, but there's no real sort of new clients coming through. Maybe they paid someone to do the website and they really like the website. Maybe they've done GP meet and greets, but it's just like, it doesn't seem to matter really what they're doing. They're not really seeing any improvements. There's not really the traction there. And for that reason, they're feeling like a little bit lost, a little bit, I'm directionless. I don't know. Look, it all looks great to me. I clearly don't know, but there's something that's not right here. What do I need to do? It's important to them to be able to service their personal life, right? So maybe they're having a change in family circumstances. Maybe they're relocating. Maybe they've got to care for an aging parent, right? The things. And so now, while the business has been fine up until this point, life has changed and now they need to level up the revenue, and they're not sure how to do that because they're capped, right? They're already seeing enough clients. They don't really want to be seeing any more clients. Maybe they've tried passive income, not really working, but they're just not sure. So maybe what's important to those clients of mine is figuring it out so that then they can service the parts of their personal life that are important to them, right? It's the business working for them now. But you need to think what's important to your client. And it's going to be different to what you think is important to your client. So for me, I might think, right, what's important to my client is making sure that she's got the right business systems and processes in place, and that, she's got a fully booked diary and all of this. But then when I talk to my clients, actually, no, that's not what's important. What's important is, she's now single mumming it, and she wants to keep the kids in private school, and now she needs to take the business seriously so she can pay for it. So she's not coming to me saying, Brooklyn, I need systems and processes. She's saying, Brooklyn, this is my situation. He's left. We're separated. We're getting a divorce. The house is on the market. I don't want to rip the kids out of the grammar school over here, away from their friends and family, but he's not going to pay for it anymore. So I need to find a way of making this happen. Can you help me? Do you see? What they think is important, their experience, perception is subjective. Okay? But have a think about that, because again, it influences the way you show up, what you share, all those kinds of things. Ask yourself, again, contemplate this, think about it. If you're listening in the car, maybe hit pause after I say this. Here we go. What would my client need to experience in order to feel as if they got great value? And here's the thing. It's not going to be more stuff. It's not going to be more stuff. You don't have to go giving them more stuff. This is about this prompt here. I wrote to help you connect in with what's important and valuable to them. Okay. And then the last one there is like, how does your client define value in terms of the work you do together? If you're working with people. If you're not working with people yet, that's okay. Think about maybe people you were working with on placement, or maybe the people that you want to call in. Maybe it's your ideal client. What would your ideal client say in terms of how they define value for them? Great value around the work that you do. So that's value, right? And while it's determined by our clients, and every client is different and it's subjective, when you have a niche, when you have that specific audience, it makes it a lot easier, because although they might be experiencing different things, there's going to be overlap. And that overlap doesn't take anything away from the perceived value. In fact, it adds to it. So, for example, with me, there might be people who are still studying and they're thinking of starting their practice and they want to get ahead of that, right? And then there's people who have recently started and they don't have clients and the money's not there, but the bills are, they're part of my world. Then there's people who've been in it for years and years and they're looking at bringing on new services, creating courses and programs, all the things, right? But they all have overlap. Those people who have been in it for years were at one point contemplating a private practice, and then they were at one point actually starting. They can relate to the journey. And then the people at the beginning can relate to the ones who've been in it for a few years because that's where they're heading. So they can relate to the journey. Do you see? Very, very, very important, helpful, useful information, right? And then there's worth. And my perception of worth is just my take on it, and you might have something different. I don't think it's anything about money. Again, worth and value to me are nothing to do with the dollars. Anyway, I was going to go off on a tangent, but I caught myself. I believe that the worth is for you in terms of, is it worth it for you to deliver this service, to offer this thing? So, for example, maybe you have a weekly newsletter. It goes out, nobody ever reads it. It takes you a morning once a week or maybe on your weekend to sit down and write. Is it worth it for you to keep doing that newsletter? Right? Now, the worth for you is going to be subjective. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. Some people will say, well, yes, it is, because I know if I just keep doing it, one day it's going to take off. Other people might be like, good question. Probably not. I would actually rather spend Saturday mornings in my veggie patch instead of sitting down and writing another email that nobody's ever going to read. If I said to you, how often are you posting on your socials, for example? You said, oh, I do it every day. And I said, okay. And what are you posting? Oh, I post reels, Okay. How long do you spend each day or each week doing this? Oh, probably about 5 or 6 hours. Okay. Is it worth it for you to keep doing that? Again, everyone's going to have a different opinion. Some people will say, well, probably no, because I'm not getting anything back from it. Some other people might say, well, no, because, I don't want to be investing my time for little ROI. Other people might say, again, yes, because I'm convinced that one day it's all just going to happen and it's all just going to fall into place and, boom, I'll get found and, be famous and, have this fully booked diary, whatever it is that they're striving for. I would love for you to have a look at everything a client can get from you, free or paid. The opt-in on the website, the blog, the posts on your LinkedIn, on your socials, the email newsletters if you're sending them, whatever it is that you're doing. And I want you to just look at each one by one and ask yourself, is this worth it to me, right? Based on what's important to you. So for me at the moment, well, it's not a new thing. It's been since November last year, right? What's important to me is time. Time and spaciousness. They're the important things to me. For that reason, just this, over the last month or so, I've been really thinking about my business and the direction that I want to take the business in and where I want it to go and all these kinds of things. And I was thinking about what's important to me, where am I going with this, and, what needs to fall away in order for me to be able to do this new thing or experience this new thing or be this new thing or, And I realized when I went and had a look at my website and when I went and had a look in my Thrivecart dashboard, I saw a whole lot of stuff and I realized, okay, a lot of this isn't going to fit with where the business is going, right? So for that reason, I don't know, like the way to say it. Sorry, I didn't delete things. I made things not available anymore. I've taken a whole bunch of stuff off my Thrivecart dashboard. I will be taking a whole lot of stuff off my website, stuff like that. I've closed down offers. I've closed down services, all those kinds of things. Because where I'm taking my business, those things just don't fit anymore. And so it's not worth it to me to be putting energy over there for something that isn't anymore aligned. It was aligned for a long time, many of these things that I'm now letting go of. Absolutely, they were. But as you evolve, as you grow, as you learn more, all those kinds of things, your business does too. And that's perfectly okay. But I'm asking you to think about even little things like your fees. It's not a little thing, but you know what I'm saying. Like, even think about your fee. If you look at your fee, whatever it is you're charging, let's say it's $160, right? National average for a counselling session of 50 to 60 minutes. Let's say you're charging the $160. I want you to sit down and have a think about, is it worth it to you to charge $160 for that session? Now, I know, some of you are going to be thinking, well, I'm just sitting on my bum talking to people, so I kind of feel like I'm overcharging. I hear that. I hear that, right? And if you're thinking that, you're not the first person, you won't be the last person to think that. But I'm sure there are other people that are probably reflecting and they're saying, is it worth it for me to do that? If I'm charging this fee here, what am I not doing over there? When I say yes to something here, what am I also simultaneously saying no to over there? If I say yes to doing this counselling session for $160, what am I then also saying no to? If I say yes to working with clients after hours to get the $160, what am I then also saying no to? Well, I'm saying no to spending time with my kids or my partner, or for me, my little DOG, right? So the worth for you is subjective. What kind of fee would make it worth it financially, personally, in life, in general, for you to deliver that counselling session? What would make it worth it? And I know when it comes to setting a fee, some people who don't know how to set a fee because they were never taught, did things like checked with peers, oh, what do you charge? What do you charge? What do you charge? Or they looked online and they kind of went and split it down the middle, or maybe even undercharged, things like that, right? That's what I'm saying. Is it worth it for you to be charging that fee? And because you've filled up your diary now with $80 clients or $60 clients or $100 clients, what are you not able to do anymore? What have you had to sacrifice? And is that okay with you? Have you had to sacrifice school pickup, where in the past you really loved only working school hours and being able to do school drop-off and school pickup? Right? Just giving you an example there. It could be anything. I know when I was first starting to charge fees and I was first filling my diary, and you've heard the stories, I made a real mess of it in the beginning, which is exactly why I'm so passionate about you not making a mess of it from your beginning. It was a real mess, and by that I mean I didn't do it well. It caused problems. I lost referrers. It was like starting all over from scratch again. There were issues with clients and payments and all of those kinds of things, but it also meant that I had to see a higher volume of clients because I was charging so little, and usually not charging. I was just accepting the Medicare fee. But it meant that as a result of that, I had to see more clients, which meant that I couldn't go hiking in the middle of the week anymore. It meant that I had to cut back on my ballroom dancing. So I was a competitive ballroom dancer. I used to have training like 3 or 4 nights a week, and, on weekends I was hiking, once or twice during the day, during the week, and then on weekends. I would travel overseas a lot, 3 or 4 times a year to different random countries, right? All that came to a grinding halt because I was undercharging and I needed to work more hours, see more clients to cover expenses and things like that. Now, nobody ever said to me, Brooklyn, is it worth it for you to be doing this? No one ever said that. If they had, I would have been able to think about it on the way home and maybe think about it when I was eating my 2-minute noodles in front of Netflix with my then fur baby Gabe on my lap. And I would have been able to think how much I love him. I would have been able to look at the trophies on the wall and the ribbons on the wall from all my ballroom dancing competitions. I would have been able to look at my hiking sticks that were hanging up on a hook in my kitchen. I know it's a weird place, but it was the only place that had a hook the right height anyway. But I would have been able to look at all of those things and think, yeah, no, this is not worth it. It's not worth it. And that would have really helped me fix it and course correct. But as I said, I didn't have anyone in my life. I didn't have a business coach to ask me these kinds of questions. And so I didn't know any better. And so I freaking kept doing it, right? I don't want that for you. But this is what I'm saying. Worth is not the money. Worth is you checking in with you and saying, if I do this thing for my business, is it worth it for me? And thinking about the things that are important to you. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your freedom, maybe it's your time, maybe it's like me and you've got activities, right? You want to go and do those activities. Is it worth it to you not to be able to go and do them so that you can see a client, right? And your safe response might be, oh, yes, because, you want to be altruistic and all of that. But hey, it's just, you're probably driving your car now. It's just you and it's just me here in this space together. Be honest with yourself. Is it worth it? Maybe no. When you think about this, I think it can open up your mind to the idea that you can create a business where you're doing things that, of course, let you help people help themselves and get the results and the outcomes and the benefits that they want and the transformations that they want, but can at the same time be worth it to you to show up for and do. Now, you might define worth as the helping. That's awesome. But what about all the other things, right? What else would make it worth it? And why? And maybe that's something that you want to journal on, okay? I know, like with Practice Momentum, right? It's $10,000, $500 a month. And, I think some people who aren't in it might be thinking, oh, gee, is it worth it? But the thing is it worth it if you get to do the things that are important to you? Is it worth it if it shows you how to still help people, still charge the fee that you feel aligned with, and gives you back time, and lets you go on, getaways with your children, and lets you, give your family a really lovely Christmas or whatever it is, and lets you maybe expand your model from a one-to-one to a one-to-many successfully. All those things, right? Would that be valuable? Yes, for so many people, it's going to be valuable. And so when I'm thinking about worth, I have to think, for me, is it worth it for me to offer practice momentum? Is it worth it for me to be able to do that? And I have to look at a lot of things. I have to look at who I'm working with. I have to look at the energy investment. I have to look at the time investment, right? I have to look at my obligations and my commitments. Like, how do I feel about those, right? I have to think about, is it worth it? Like, all of those things. And does it align with my values of helping people? So those are the things that I'm going to take into consideration. And believe you me, like, I'm inventing stuff all the time. I've got notebooks galore, and some of them are for inspiration, right? I've always got ideas of ways I could help my beautiful audience even more than I am now. Always coming up with ideas for another product, another program, another service. Oh, I could do this, I could do that. They all feel urgent and important and like necessary, essential for me to manifest, take from thought, put it into reality. Here it is. It's gone from idea to actual tangible thing that you can do, and it's going to help. I have no shortage of that. But my filter is it worth it for me in terms of my time, the energy, and not only the energy to create it and put it all together, but the energy to market it, and then the energy to deliver it, right? Is it going to be worth it? And is it going to be worth it for that fee that I'm charging? Is it going to be worth it for the time it takes away from me and you know who? Is it going to be worth it in terms of, my lifestyle? All those kinds of things. They're the filter now. So I no longer just act on impulse and go and create everything that ever lands in my imagination, because believe you me, that would be overwhelming for you. But now I'm being more thoughtful about it, more intentional about it. I'm saying, whoa, hang on. Is it going to be worth it? Let's look at the long term here. Especially with things that might be a membership or a subscription type thing, like Booked and Better, stuff like that. Thinking to myself, is it worth it? Is it worth it for me to have an Etsy store? Is it worth it for me to, spend a day making a product and listing it? Is that worth it? Is it worth it for me to get on this podcast twice a week? Well, usually twice a week. Is that worth it to me? Is it worth it to me to give up, 2 hours once or twice a week to do this podcast? Is it worth it on my time, my energy? Is it helpful to my audience? Does it align with my values? Is it actually an activity that's worthwhile me doing? And the answer is yes, it is, because this is one of my dependable strategies. I know so many clients work with me because they've been listening to the podcast. And I know this because they tell me that and they write it on the form. So I know that what I'm doing is helping people. Maybe you're not feeling helped by this particular episode today, but maybe you have felt helped by an earlier one or another one that you listened to, right? But it's helpful to people, and then some of the people who listen to it then go and look for more help, whether it's getting pre-made things, right? Maybe they're just so time poor and they just want the pre-made thing. So they go and they join Booked and Better, right? Or maybe they might decide that they're a little bit further along on the journey, or maybe they decide that they want sort of the interaction with me, my eyes on their stuff, and then they're the ones who will book in for the business strategy call, right? Things like that. So is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it. Is it worth it for me to spend a full 8-hour day, from start to finish, coming up with content ideas, creating the content for the freebie, putting the freebie together, setting it up with all of the moving parts and doing that? Is that worth it for me? It's absolutely worth it for me, because you always want to be bringing new people into your world, right? Always bringing new people into your world for lots of reasons. It's nice to help people. It feels good when they write comments on your posts saying how helpful the stuff is that you're producing. Feels good, right? But it's also helpful for them, because now they know that there's somebody here that knows things, that can help them. Do you know what I mean? They start to get familiar, all those kinds of things. And you just never know. They might never work with me. They might never buy a product. But they know me. And so when they're at the next chapter meeting at the ACA, thing that they're doing, and they're talking about business coaches of private practice, maybe that person is going to say, hey, do you follow Brooklyn? Are you in Brooklyn's group? You should definitely be on her email list, right? She's got a podcast. That's important. It's really, really important. So is it worth it for me to do this podcast for you? Absolutely, it's worth it. It's worth it for you. It's worth it for me. Is it valuable for you? It's going to be valuable sometimes and not other times, because we talk about different things, and sometimes I might be talking about national standards that might have nothing to do with you, and then other times we're talking about getting clients quickly. It might have everything to do with you. But you see what I'm saying, right? You see what I'm saying? Value is what a client perceives about the thing that you give them, the thing that you do, the thing that they're getting. Worth is about you. Is it worth it for you? Is it worth it for you to keep writing the blog posts, right? Is it worth it for you to go and get help? Is it worth it for you to, get the $27 product, like whatever it is? That's the lens now. Start filtering things through that. Okay. So I wanted to share that with you, because I just think that it's so, so, so important. And I think also very important because, for those of you who don't want to kick on and hear about like my experience and everything, feel free to click out now, because like the education part's over. But for everybody else, as you know, like I'm doing this course at the moment, and this course, it's so good, really loving it. It's also contributing to, it's affirmed really the direction that I want to take the business in. But very interesting, because in this class, there's probably a ratio of 5 men to every 1 woman, and there's about 80 of us. Well, I'm just going by the number of people on the count at the bottom of the Zoom screen. It tells you how many people are on the call. It's usually fluctuating around 80. You have to, of course, do the thing where you got to go into the breakout rooms, which I dread. But anyway, I've been in a bunch of breakout rooms, and I can tell you it's been quite an eye-opening experience. For most of them, I was the only female in there. And when I say eye-opening, it's just interesting to hear the contrast in the approach to how maybe it's just the men in this course. I don't know. Don't want to make any generalizations. I'm just speaking from my experience. But my experience is that in this course with these fellas, they just have like a very matter-of-fact approach about their business, about the money, about worth, about value, things like that. And they make no apologies for it. And do you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, it's completely different to being in a room full of women talking about their fees, let's just say. When I'm talking to women about fees, all the stuff comes up. It's their own mindset. It's their money experiences from the past. It's their current money situation. It's what they're making it mean. It's their beliefs. There's all this compensation, justifying things. No, I'm not on Medicare, but I will just charge you the same as you. Do you know what I mean? There's all of this going on. Just doesn't happen. It's not happening over here with these other men. There's actually none of that. It's been very interesting. They're very just like, as I said, matter of fact about the fee. They have structure. It's results. They talk about results, all those kinds of things. And they're just like, it's not that they're proud of it. I'm not saying that. It's not that they're, ripping anybody off. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying their attitude, their mindset, their approach to money is completely different, like day and night, compared to what many of us experience. And I just thought that was interesting. And I'm not sure if there's a gender bias around money. I think there probably is. I mean, relatively, women haven't really been working in the workforce for that long, right? I know even when I was growing up, my mum used to defer to my dad all the time when it came to money stuff. And even there are so many women in private practice, and I will say them how much revenue was generated by the business last week. They can't tell me. But sitting in these discussion groups with these guys, they're all like, oh yeah, they can say to each other what their revenue was last week. They can say what their revenue was for the last 3 weeks. They can say what their expenses were for the last 12 months off the top of their head. They know it. They know it. They know how many inquiries they need to get for their business to get the conversion, to get the client. They know it, right? And they just talk about it without emotion. There's no apologizing. There's no people pleasing. There's no feeling gross about it. It's none of that. It's just like business, and they're just talking business. And yeah, it was just very, very interesting. And part of me comes away every time I go to be in one of those groups. Part of me comes away just feeling like so thankful that in Momentum, the women learn about the numbers and they get used to me saying, show me the numbers, show me the numbers, show me the numbers. And some of them will say, I never wanted to do the numbers. I was always scared of the numbers. I hate looking at them, and it's this and it's that. But now, ones I've been working with for a while are saying, oh my gosh, looking at my numbers, and they'll voluntarily tell me their numbers without even asking. I can, have a conversation with them, and in the middle of the conversation, I can say, what was the revenue last week? And they'll tell me. They haven't had to go and figure it out. They know. And I think that this is really, really good, because when you have that understanding those things, like your numbers, for example, it can really help you figure out whether or not it's worth it for you to keep doing something the way that you are. The course that I'm doing, was it worth it for me to pay this money to go and do the course? Obviously, I've figured out that it was worth it. And the reason for me that it was worth it was because I'm going to be able to apply this stuff to my own business. I'm going to be able to apply this stuff to private practice and do it in a way that's going to be very exciting, that's going to be very simplified, no noise around it, not complicated or anything like that. And it's really going to benefit the businesses of the women in Momentum that I work with. So is it worth it to me to go and learn how to do this stuff, take the skills that I've learned, apply those skills over to my business, to my niche, to my sector, to help my clients? Yes. It's a time investment. Is it worth it? Yes, absolutely. So it was a financial investment. It was a time investment. Was it something I had planned in my business plan this year? No, it wasn't. But totally worth it. Is it worth me getting up at, when it's still dark outside to join these Zoom calls? Totally worth it. Hands down, totally worth it. So yeah, you want to start thinking about stuff like that with your worth, which is also really interesting because do you remember I was telling you about the swans? If you missed that episode, I was sharing, it's a recent-ish one. Probably within the last 5 or 6 episodes, you'll hear it, was I'd gone to Dalesford, Anyway, I won't go over it again because I know you've probably heard it. But anyway, so this theme of the swans kept coming out. And then I've been back, and then on Friday last week went to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, and would you believe there was a whole stack of that same book on animal totems or whatever it is, and yeah, that I didn't buy when I was away. So of course I saw it as a sign and I bought the book, got home, read the thing about the swans, was all about breaking patterns, ancestral patterns, all this kind of stuff. Very, very like on the money, and I was like blown away, gobsmacked, all of the things. Then it's Amazon Prime Week, which I love. Only happens twice a year, but I love it. I save all my, frivolous purchases for Amazon Prime Week. And one of the things that I bought myself was a deck of Oracle cards. I've had my eye on them for ages. Anyway, I got them. I said to the ladies in Momentum, hey, let's go and have a look. Let's pull some cards, pulled some cards. Guess what? Picture of a swan. One of my clients got a picture of a swan. And then she sent me a message. And in the message, she'd uploaded a picture of a swan 2 times. I was like, swan. It was so interesting. And anyway, the swan is about your worth. It's about your worth. It's about acting from worth. And from there, I thought it was very interesting because it was just a lovely reminder that when the fear comes up in your private practice, no matter what it's in relation to, it doesn't have to be private practice, by the way. We're just here on a private practice podcast, but you know what I'm saying. What might be helpful is to approach the thing, whatever it is, through a lens of your value, right? So if it's money, you might, instead of approaching money through fear and scarcity, you might say, what would look different for me if I approached this through a lens of my worth? What would I say to this person who owes me money? What would I say to this person who's cancelled their appointment 16 million times but keeps rebooking? What would I do with that policy around reschedules, right? Things like that. If I was running my business through a lens of this value here of my own worth, what would I be doing differently? See? Helpful, right? You don't have to just use worth, by the way. You might, one of your values might be, contribution. How would I approach this through a lens of contribution, right? What would that look like? Stuff like that. Very, very, very helpful. Yeah. And the other thing too, this was really lovely to be reminded of, but I was speaking with someone during the week about his business. We're doing some business coaching, and he shared with me, fear comes from love. And he was like, we feel fear because we love ourselves so much. And I thought that was so beautiful to hear, because it takes the sting out of fear a little bit, doesn't it? When you think about that. So if you think about something that's going on with your business right now and there's been fear around it, does it shift for you a little bit if you see that that fear you're experiencing comes from a love for you, comes from a love that you have for yourself. Maybe it comes from a love that you have for your client. Maybe it comes from a love that you have for, I don't know, whatever it is. Takes the sting out, right? So beautiful. We are so lucky to be doing this work. I have so much more to tell you, but I'm just mindful of the time because you know me, I could just keep talking and talking and talking all day long, but I won't. I'm going to let you go. Have a think about the idea of value being subjective for a client, right? So if you and I were working together, or if you and I were going to work together, if you're thinking about working with me, the value of that work for you is going to be something that you determine, right? You're going to say, is it worth it to spend the $10,000? Is it worth it to pay the $500 a month? Is that going to be worth it for me? What's going to be valuable for me, right? And as I said, like, that is subjective. That's up to you. And it's really going to depend on what's important to you, right? If you're noticing that you're working really hard, for example, and you can't switch off when you come home, and it's causing problems because, you're missing out on family time and stuff like that. Or maybe you're like me and you can't go to your ballroom dancing lessons anymore, right? Would it be valuable for you to learn how to fix it and turn it around and, get all those things back? Is that going to be worth it to you? And make more money? Probably. So yeah, value is something that your client thinks about in terms of your business. Worth is for you. Is it worth it for you to do this service, to deliver this service, to provide this service in this way, during these hours, for this fee, even if this, that, or the other, right? Something to think about. And if you want help maybe unpacking it, you're most welcome to book a business consultation with me, unless you've already had one this year. Because I don't do many of them, as you know. So yeah, I just don't want to fill up the diary with people coming back for second and third. No, we don't do that. If you haven't had a 15-minute consult and you would like to have one, I'll put the link in the show notes for you so that you can. But if you miss it, if you're listening to this before I've done the show notes, you can go over and just contact me on Facebook or my website, okay? And you can just go and book on there. The diary is actually also embedded on the website, so you can just go and do it yourself over there. Very easy. I'm more than happy to give you some guidance, but in order for me to be able to do that, I need to know what's actually going on for the business right now. So that's why we've got to have a consultation. All right, my lovelies, I hope that this has given you something to think about this weekend. Have a lovely rest of the day. Bye, and thank you for being part of my world. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorme.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.